Welcome back to the latest episode of the NLB Pod. I'm your host, Dr. Fairbanks Ray Jr., and I am really excited for what we got on deck for you guys today. My guest today, I'm very lucky to have met him when I met him in LA. One of the people that I was looking for because I recognized the gym he was playing at, but just watching how he taught basketball and how he was able to communicate it to the masses, I thought was he had a very special skill and the Duke can hoop. So now he has a following of over 269,000 people on Instagram. He taught himself how to play basketball at the age of 21 after shifting from Wall Street. He's making hoops accessible and fun for anyone who enjoys basketball, and I think his story is going to resonate with a lot of you guys. And he's half of the shiftiest basketball couple on the
And
internet. So, Austin, thank you for joining us.
thank you for having me, brother.
Of course, of course. So I'm gonna dive right in because I think your story is one that doesn't get enough love of how you got to where you're at right now. So can you
Mm.
take us back to the life as a Wall Street guy, the finance bro guy?
Yeah, in with respect to basketball or just
Just like how you started out, because you didn't start out
okay.
playing basketball and you were in.
Yeah, so I guess like it's just an easy tagline to say, "Oh, I taught myself how to play at 21." It's not like I never touched a basketball before then. It was just like any other guy. You would just shoot around from time to time with your buddies if you guys wanted to go outside and play. I was doing that as a kid, but it's never like I played any organized basketball. Not nearly like what it is today, where you got as soon as you're 6, you're playing club AAU, you're on the circuit, and you're doing that. So you're trying to go get your hoop dreams, right? Back before the internet, you played tackle football or you just shot around outside. And I always loved basketball, but growing up, I was always just like a heavier kid, right? So it was something that I dabbled with, but it was never something that I took seriously. But I always enjoyed it. My dad actually still plays to this day. He probably for the past 25 years has played Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5 a.m., like 3 times a week before work with his little crew. So I was always into basketball. I always loved basketball, just was never any good at it. So I was just always around it. And then obviously when I went, and then, okay, it starts a little bit before like the Wall Street journey. It got to the point where as a kid, I was so depressed and insecure about my weight that at a certain point, I think in high school, maybe like sophomore year, I was like, enough is enough. I gotta change something. And then I did try out for the basketball team in high school. Obviously got cut. But lacrosse is big on the East Coast. And basically anyone makes it. So I made the lacrosse team. And what's very interesting is that lacrosse is very similar to basketball. I think it's very strange that lacrosse isn't more popular of a sport. But lacrosse got me into the whole organized sports world a little bit. And then from there, playing there, doing all the conditioning, all that kind of stuff, my weight loss journey started. And then when I started to lose it, I just used basketball as a way to help with that because I never liked going to the gym. I did not like running. I loved dribbling a basketball. And my background when I went to college, it was I got a scholarship to go to college for music, and my main instrument was percussion. So I did the drum line in high school, grew up classically trained pianist. So I've always had good hands, dexterity, like hand-eye control, and that helped me with handles and dribbling. And that's the one thing that's always been natural for me, rhythm and timing, footwork, things of that nature. And so when it came to go to college, I was like, okay, it's time to reinvent myself. I'm not going to be the same fat loser that I was. So that summer, the summer before going to college, so technically it did start at 18, not 21, but is when I like went to a nearby high school or nearby school's park and I would just sauna suit it up, hoodie, sauna suit. And that's why you still see me do that to this day. It's just like a habit and just dribbling drills, just handle work. And that's how if you go and dribble a basketball hard for 60 seconds, you are sweating, right? I didn't want to run 5 miles, but I was just doing that. Super caloric deficit. That helped me lose the majority of my weight, like going into college, and I was like starting to feel myself or whatever. And then when I started shedding pounds after pounds, I realized, oh, like there is a little bit of like athleticism under there, right? So I was still buns at basketball at that time, but then go to college, in between lectures and classes, everybody just like hoops at the rec. And that's when I really started to like just be one of those guys who's like, ball is life. It got to the point where like in between class, like you're end of lecture, you're just like, ooh, gotta get to the rec, gotta get a run in, something like that. And then so did that for 4 years in college. You could probably ask, if you ask any of the guys who still, a couple guys actually still follow me from those days, and they'll engage with some videos and some time. And I always look back and I think it's so cool because like there were a couple dudes who were just nice with it. And I remember I was just like, oh, I want to be like, shout out Ron or some of those guys who like, or Armani. They were just so cold. And I was like, yeah, I wonder if I could ever get to that level one day, right? I think they played on like a club team, and they would just school kids at the rec. And then I just really fell in love with it there. But obviously, just losing the weight's not going to make you good. So that's why I said I started teaching myself at 21, because I used basketball prior to 21 to help me lose weight, but no formal training didn't really teach myself how to hoop. I had no real skills other than I had good enough handles to hang on the court without getting it stripped too much. But I'm still smoking transition layups. I'm not a shooter, nothing like that, no IQ. So then after graduating and then going to Wall Street and working, first it's like the sophomore, what do they call it? It's like the freshman 15, right?
Yeah.
I immediately, just because that lifestyle change from going to college student to working full-time first job, it's like the stress and everything. It's like, boom, I'm starting to gain weight again. So I'm like, shit, I'm going to do the same thing I did before, which was wake up early before work and do ball handling or whatever. But then at that point, I was like, yo, I've been doing this. I'm going to be the kind of guy who is probably going to hoop to the day I die. I love it that much, just like many of us out there, regardless of your background, whether you played or not. And I was like, but instead of being like the guy who just will come show up to pickup runs every week and be a cone, like why, even though it's a great workout, why not get better, right? Why not actually try to be good at it? So I started doing that. So that's when the first journey, when I was 21, I'm working. Yes, I'm doing it again to lose weight. That's like my form of cardio, but I'm doing it in a very different manner because I'm trying to see how quickly I can upskill myself in this brand new domain that I'm not actually very familiar with without any coach or trainer. As an adult, I feel like the common consensus might be like, oh, that's crazy to try and teach yourself a new thing. It's like a sport like basketball or a sport in general is too difficult to try and learn and get better at post adolescence. But I was like, Doug, we ball. We're gonna do it, right? And it started out like the first couple years were just fails, just constant failures, because it's like you learn the process of just ingesting everything on YouTube, like following other. Back then, it was like you didn't have trainers on Instagram and all this knowledge. There was only like a select few. Obviously, shout out Devin the Lab. That's a huge guy. But the thing, at the end of the day, like all those guys are great. Whether they're great teachers or not, whether they're spitting the truth or not, a lot of them are just, one, genetically gifted and talented. Most 99% of them all have high level hoop experience. So it's like there wasn't any real content geared towards someone like me. It's already interesting when you see like some 6'8" former pro trying to teach like a 5'3" middle schooler how to play basketball. It's like there's almost only so much you can translate. It's like that they could tell you something because they say it worked for me, but you'll never know. And this is the biggest thing I have with the basketball education space. It's like, is that the reason why you're able to get by someone, or is it that you are just faster than them? Right? It's like there wasn't any outsider perspective, right? So that's where I started testing my process was basically just very systems design thinking based, but like, is what these guys who I hold in high regard or based on their pedigree, everyone should believe, is this information actually legit, or do you have to go about it in some different way if you're someone like me who isn't built the same, doesn't have that athleticism, doesn't have years of learning as a teenager. And then slowly and surely I just found my own method of like what things to focus on, and then it just accelerated from there once I started teaching myself in like my own kind of unique manner, all while managing a full-time job on Wall Street. Yeah, and management consulting.
Yeah, no, because you mentioned a couple of times. I hear people say now you have to learn skills like sports. You have to get involved early because if you don't, then you're just not going to be able to pick it up later. I hear about like tennis or dance. And why is that the case? Why can't we decide we want to pick it up later because it's fun, because our friends play it, because we want to be involved in social groups? Why
Yeah.
can't we just go learn how to be like learn new skills and be
Yeah.
better, be more adaptable? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening to you talk, I'm listening to you explain your story, and I'm like, I feel if someone decided today, they were like, I want to play basketball. I've never touched a basketball in my life. It sounds like you were very focused on, I need personally to get better at this, identifying what you're good at and what you need to
Yeah.
improve at,
Yeah.
and then putting yourself in situations where you had to test it out and see, all right, does this work? When can I use this? When can't I use this? Do I need to come up with another way? Can you kind of break down how you started to just make the leaps and bounds, the improvements really quickly in your game?
Yeah. So, like I said before, handles was never really something that I needed to focus on at that time because that's basically all I did. When I was losing the weight, and I would say if someone's out there and they want to lose a considerable amount of weight and they don't like running and they don't like lifting, as long as you can restrict your diet and you just need a little bit of extra caloric expenditure, bro, just go to YouTube. You look at any 30-minute ball handling drill. If you can do it with a heavy ball, even better. But you can just do that, and that is your cardio for the day. And you can honestly, it can be stationary too. It doesn't even have to be in the move. So you can do it in the driveway, you can do it in the garage, you can do it anywhere by yourself. You just put your headphones in and you just boom. But yeah, so I didn't have to do that much of that. Obviously, for me, I was like, okay, I am 5'9". I'm not really built for this sport. So the first thing I was like, if I'm gonna try and be good, I have to be a shooter. So the first thing was I was teaching myself how to shoot. And for me, the biggest thing that I think is a miss that I don't understand why more people do is you have a phone, you have to record yourself. Honestly, I would say that was probably the biggest thing. And I liken it to when kids first start lifting. If you are trying to deadlift or you're trying to squat, it's really a no-brainer to just prop your phone up on your phone or just your friend to record you and be like, am I doing this right? Because it's a technical thing, right? Is my form okay? Maybe you'd be okay with just like taking your friend's word or trainer's word at face value and being like, yeah, it's fine. But like for me, when I started lifting, that's what I did. And so it kind of just was a no-brainer for when I was trying to teach myself how to shoot. I'm like, I gotta I don't even know what I look like when I shoot. So when I taught myself how to shoot, obviously use Steph as a blueprint. So I would screen record his shots at every single angle that I could find, like front facing, from the back, 3/4 angle, everything. And then I just literally went to the park, prop my phone up on like my water bottle and try to match it exactly. And then I would literally just put it on my computer and go frame by frame, side by side comparison to see like what do I have to look like, because I feel like a lot of it is like the form and mechanics to me was it's very simple. Maybe because I took a lot from my dad, I think, because my dad is also very much the same way. He taught himself how to play all the sports that he does. He's a huge golf guy. So I remember growing up, he would be VHS camcorder recording his golf swing all the time. So that just kind of made sense to me. That's, oh, like you have to watch yourself to figure out what's wrong. And if you want to change things, you have to see what you can change but within the limits of your own physical constraints, because everybody's built a little bit differently. So that was probably my biggest thing. And then by virtue of doing that, I realized I would start with the shooting, but then if I started like doing off dribble stuff into shots or whatever, I'd still be recording on my phone. And then the biggest kind of takeaway was a lot of people, maybe it doesn't affect kids nowadays, but it's like most people actually do not know what they look like on film. I guarantee you most people think they're moving a lot better than they actually are. And that was the biggest. It's like almost like when you hear your voice recorded for the first time, you're like, oh, who's that? It's when I saw myself move for the first time, I thought I did something crazy. And then I was like, I am so slow, or I look so stiff or wonky. And then so, yes, I had handles, but I wasn't shifty. So the for other thing right alongside shooting, I was like, I'm gonna have to be able to create my own shot or create space. I'm not necessarily going to be the strongest or fastest guy out there. So I really just started training how to move. And a lot of that was just without the ball. And like one of my goats is obviously like Allen Iverson. So like the move that I was the most obsessed about was the AI cross. So I wanted to make myself look like him so bad. And I just remember countless hours of just like me trying to do the move based on just watching like clips of him do it. And I was like, I am nowhere close to looking even similar. And so a lot of it was just like same thing when I did with Steph Shot was just screen recording and literally playing it through like frame by frame to see how I have to move my body. And like I think that's like something where if you don't, some people just have it naturally. They're just coming out the womb and they're like, right? They have great weight distribution, head fakes, the shoulder fakes, their body can move very fluidly. But like I wasn't like that. And it was kind of just, I would say, someone who wants to learn how to dance. It's kind of the same thing. You have to, it might seem daunting, but it's like, you're a able-bodied human being. Like it is 100% possible. You just there probably is different methods to learning how to do it. But I think one of my strengths is I'm a pretty quick study. I'm also a good visual learner. So it wasn't too long before I started understanding like, oh, okay, a lot of it is just like optimizing your body's movements. If you can move, is basically if you can shadow, just like shadow boxing, if you can shadow play basketball, then it becomes a little easier to once you just put the ball in your hand, right? And I think a lot of people who like want to like, how do you get so shifty? Let me see you move. Try to do something shifty without the ball, right? Don't think about dribbling. Just move your body in a shifty, deceptive manner. And most of them can't do it, and that's probably why. Of course, it's going to be more difficult with a basketball. Yeah, so I would probably say recording yourself is a huge benefit. And I think that spans just with any physical activity, really. And then I guess over time, aside from that, it was just focusing on just like my like the like a Pareto principle of just like 80-20. It's just like I'm 21. I can't do everything under the sun. So what am I gonna probably do in a game? Well, okay, so like for instance, I'm not gonna like be in the dunker spot and try to like do mic and drills or something like that. Like yeah, that could probably help, but it's like it's not gonna be me. So it's like I would be like, okay, what or like try to spend the majority of my time on just the things that are actually realistically gonna impact me in the game. And that's just started out with just catch and shoot. And then honestly, every time I think I was working on something, it would just be based off of a scenario or progression. So like at a certain spot, can I score from the perimeter? Do I have an option to attack the rim? And then honestly, that was basically it. I didn't even really have a mid range. I'm like, I feel like I'm getting into my mid range bag like now, really. And yeah, that was probably pretty much kind of the system I had in place there. But you'd be surprised. It's like I even think just through recording yourself and focusing on just one or two skills, if you stick with it, not if you stick with it long enough, but you'd be surprised how quickly the exponential growth of a complete beginner, really. And then you'll start to almost self-organize and realize, oh, it kind of comes intuitively, oh, this is what I should probably focus on next. Yeah, and I think, honestly, I think that's the benefit of kind of doing it as an adult, because I think that's a little bit less intuitive or for younger kids, right? That's why they need so much extra. Oh, what drills should I do? What do I need to do next, or whatever? But if you're like a dabbler as an adult, you kind of have some understanding. But also, once you learn how to shoot the basketball, the game becomes a lot easier.
100%, 100%. You said a lot there, but something that you mentioned at the beginning was how year after year you kept kind of adding to your game, getting better and better, but also going through a lot of fails.
Yeah.
When you get to those failing times or those down times, how did you continue to show up every day to continue to get a little bit better?
Yeah, great question. That is because just pure love. I think it's just, to me, it's like people say, oh, I love this game. And it's like, you can really tell who's telling the truth and who's lying when they lose, or when they, at their lowest point, when they fail, right? And I understand there's some obviously nuance to being a competitor. Oh, I hate losing or whatever. But it's like, if you really actually love something, then you love it in its entirety, not just when you're on one. Even when you went 0 for 11, right? And you're just like, you're down, you're a human, you have emotions, you're like, I suck. But it's like, I think then it was just pure joy, unadulterated joy, the same joy you had as a kid. And I think perhaps maybe I benefited from my late start, because I can definitely understand if you're someone like yourself too, if you had to go do 2-a-days every day for 4 years, like you were a collegiate athlete, 100% can empathize of you like falling out of love with the game. What if it, especially if it didn't pan out, it didn't give you exactly what you wanted, right? You poured your heart and soul, blood, sweat, and tears into something, and just things happened, life happened, and it didn't love you back all the way. I can definitely see that you're like 18, 19, 20, and you have to treat basketball as a job. I can only imagine the amount of what the relationship with the sport becomes, right? For someone who is, it was just always just a pure hobby. And like when you're working full time, it's like your outlet, right? And it's just like pure fun. It also just happens to be a great workout as well. So to me, failing it was easy for it to just be like, oh, it's just learning. This is how this like the only way to get better is by failing. It's no different than when you're in the gym. You want to get stronger, you got to lift. It's a failure, right? That's the only way to progress. So I think maybe not having that, I think a lot of people have that relationship with basketball. Like most guys our age who still hoop probably were like, they played JV or varsity high school, right? A lot of them do. I don't, I would hope and think that there are a lot of people there out like me who maybe started like super late and never really had a relationship with basketball like as a teenager. But I feel like guys in their 30s now, like if they're still getting after it, they probably usually played some level of organized basketball as a kid. So for me, yeah, it wasn't that difficult. I would almost say that, oh, now that I'm trying to do Dabbly Ducks as like a full-time content creator brand, I definitely have felt over the past year ish, I guess maybe a similar type of feeling where it's like, oh, once it becomes your job, a main responsibility, those losses, or like you myself not playing up to a certain standard, definitely will be like, damn, am I a fraud? Should I be like, there'll be times where there have definitely been times where I'm like, I just put out a shooting video, or I put out a something video, like trying to like teach a unique Dabbly Ducks method on how to do this XYZ basketball skill. And then in a private run or pickup, whatever, I just go, just I'm throwing bricks out there, and then I'm like, why am I qualified to give my advice? Because I'm not as good as fucking just a 40-year-old dude is just locking me up right now, right? So I definitely feel that. Currently, how I get out of that is I just I think it's just you have to, just like anything in life, is you have to deploy an OD amount of gratitude to your current situation to keep yourself grounded. Not to say that's an easy thing to do, but that's how I get out of it, that funk, if I'm ever feeling that type of way about it. If I'm in a situation where I'm like failing, where I hit a obstacle, a mental obstacle, I'm just like, you gotta just celebrate the little things and remind yourself, keep yourself present, and remind yourself that like it could be your job, you could love it, it could be a hobby, but it's very tricky. It's a slippery slope to get your like whole identity wrapped around one performance, or even just not even one performance, just your how you perform in the sport of basketball, which I think is definitely an issue with hoopers, right? But yeah.
So when you're talking about recording yourself and not and being grateful for what the game has been able to provide for you, who you've been able to meet because of it, what you've been able to learn, and how you can apply basketball to skill. When did the content journey and posting on Instagram, TikTok, when did that start? And what was that process like?
Yeah, that started when I met Gia. Okay, so even before I was like content creation was even something that was a remote possibility, I was always recording when I played. Just like how I recorded when I was just practicing on my own or just doing my own workouts. It kind of just started like because one gym I went to before going into work, I would just set my phone up on like my water bottle on the sidelines to like practice shooting. Then someone would come and be like, hey, you want to run threes? And then so I just kept it running. I didn't go over there and stop it. And then I had like game footage and I was like, oh, this is another huge plus. Now I get to look like I look the same in practice that I do like what do I do in the games, right? And that was I forgot to mention that's like a huge learning thing. You should definitely film everything and everything like everything that you can. And then so the day I met Gia was just like I think it was like some hot summer day, maybe August, July in DC at a random park. I had just tore my AC joint. So I was in a sling, but still, of course, I'm out there putting up shots, right? It was my left shoulder, I think. Yeah. So I was still putting up shots and I was just recording myself, like form shooting out there because I'm a psycho. And then Gia came up obviously I was like, you want to run the ones? And then like, that's literally how we met. Don't let her rewrite history. Cooked her with one arm. Okay. But ever since then, like then we started dating and we would just go out and we would play against, we would run the ones with each other. But obviously I would just be recording because it would just for us to see and just for us to have. And then organically, obviously people would notice and they would want to run twos or whatever. And then we would be frying and Gio would put some dude on a clip and it would be crazy. And I think that was basically around the time where like TikTok may have came out at that time. And so I was like, this was still before content creation was like a real job. Obviously some people were doing it, but this was just for funsies. I just obviously posted a little video of us frying in DC and some videos started going viral. And that was like the start. I had a very artistic creative background growing up. It wasn't just music. Music is just what I decided, but I forgot to mention I was technically a former failed art prodigy. I don't know if I ever told you that, but yeah, in 5th grade, I was like, my art teacher was like, basically called my parents in and they were like, Austin's like the next Picasso. I just like doodling, but I was apparently very good at drawing and painting. And so they put me in a Saturday school with kids who were preparing their art portfolios for college. So I was like 9 or 10, spending 6 hours every Saturday in a dark room doing oil paintings with 17, 18-year-old kids. And that just completely turned me off. So I was like, fuck it, I'm out. I hate this shit. Who knows? I could have been someone maybe if I stuck with it. But I was always just very artsy fartsy kid. Anything in the fine arts, music included. So when it came to the actual tangible skills of video editing, it had already been something that was like a skill that was under my belt. So that was not a thing that I had to deal with I was always dabbling throughout high school and college with Premiere and just the whole Adobe Creative Suite. So for me to go from taking my little iPhone footage, basketball, and make it into a cool little edit there wasn't any friction there. And then it kind of just took off from there.
So for
Yeah.
all the people who want to get into content creating, you first gotta just film yourself. Be,
Yeah.
don't
That's
be
it.
afraid to don't be afraid to tell your story.
Yeah.
The bumps and bruises, I think, bring more authenticity to your page. I think a lot of it now is really scripted and edited,
Yeah.
and I feel like the more vulnerable, more authentic you can be in your journey and the story that you can tell, I think that brings more people to want to see how you go about your process or your goal, whatever you're trying to accomplish. I know I'm grateful for you and your content creating journey because I was like, I know the gym that he's playing at. I just gotta catch him. I gotta catch him at a day that he's there. So I would go, cause when we moved to LA, I would go every day to the Y, trying to see if he would pull
Oh,
up there.
yeah, I remember that. You scouted me.
I was trying, cause I was like, bro, I like how he breaks down things on Instagram, TikTok. I like how it's easy to understand, it's tangible. You can take it and you could apply it now. Commentary's funny, and Gia's just breaking people off on
Yeah.
clips too. So I was like, I seen Oscar first, and I was like, I got to know Oscar first, and then you pulled up one day, and I was like, bro, I love your TikToks. I think you do a really good job at just explaining basketball, and watching your journey's been cool. And I appreciate that.
I mean, right
The
back at you, dude. I think what was it? How long did we hoop
that,
together
that
before
was
you
20.
abandoned us?
Look, that was. I'm still sad about it. That was summer of 24.
It was like a year and a half.
Yeah,
And a
yeah.
half. Bro, I think the gains we made, like G and I made in that year and a half, were crazy. I think. Just the ones, the threes, the everything. It was great. It was great. True,
100%.
true iron sharpens iron.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And
That leads me. That's another pro tip. I forgot to mention when I first started, because there will be a transitioning period from just practicing to playing. You got to play, right? But obviously, that's what's hard for a lot of people. One, you can't just be waiting at a 24-hour fitness for 2 hours to get one run in or something like that. Especially if you're buns, you're never going to get picked up, right? So that's actually it's like a social kind of thing you got to pick up. I obviously was like, as an adult, I already knew that. I'm not going to be one of those teenagers who'll waste my stay from 5 to 9 to try and just get a couple runs in. It's like, okay, obviously going in the morning helps. Empty gym, but then you also meet like-minded people there, usually. You could get the small-sided games in, get some threes in, or whatever. Threes is huge for getting better at basketball. I would say that. People want to they're like, oh, they're purists. They're like, no, we just run full court fives. That's the only thing that's fun. It's like, dude, threes is the best way to apply things that you're like currently learning, even if you only think you have it 40-50%. You just got to try it and just fail hard not on air, on a live defender. But in threes, you got a little bit more space, and you obviously get more touches. So, in my opinion, it's a perfect environment for that dabbling, right? And then it was a whole lot of ones. In every city that I moved to or whatever, obviously having Gia is a cheat code because you get to just run the ones whenever. Even before I met Gia, when I was just in DC before you meeting Gia, I had at least you have a roster of dudes, right? And that you just hit up and see if they want to run. And I think whatever stage in life you're at, or whatever skill level you're at, I think this is very important. Actually, I was gonna make a video on this. Actually, the ideal roster is you need to have like different types of builds or skills that you need to play ones against, and it should always be like, I guess you could generalize it to somebody who has at least one thing over you, one attribute over you, just one. It could be like, if we're just doing it on size and skill, the person can be significantly less skilled than you, but if they're bigger and taller than you, that's a good partner. That's a good sparring partner, or vice versa. And I did that in the beginning, where a lot of people, they would just, when they were on the ones, you're just going to pick a guy who you probably know you can just beat all the time, right? So it's good for your ego or something, but that's not how you get better. You need, if you're okay with it, usually what happens is the ideal person is someone who's just exceptionally better than you in skill and physique. But a lot of times it's going to be hard to find someone of that caliber because they're out probably going to try and play better comp, right? That's ideal. But if you can't, then you got to find someone who's either taller, less skilled, or more skilled, but you have some advantage on them. And so I had some combination of 3 or 5 guys I could always hit up. And those guys, shout out to those guys, they're huge in my progression and learning the game of basketball and getting better very quickly as an adult. And then you get to a certain point where by the time we met, by the time we met, you still had more skill and you were faster, stronger, got a reach advantage on me. So it's ideal. So yeah.
Nah, I agree with you. I think when you're talking about if you want to get better, I think you have to put yourself in environments where people are better than you. And you
Yeah.
have to push yourself to limits that you might not even think is possible, but you have to see how far you can push the envelope. And you really, I think what you mentioned at the beginning of taking the film and watching yourself play and looking at, okay, where are opportunities where I can refine this, or what are decisions that I made that maybe other decisions I could have made. I
Mm-hmm.
think being able to take a step back and look at, all right, I'm really just about trying to get better here and being better for the next time I see this person. It's like, all right, I'm gonna work on this. I'm gonna see this person again, and the one thing I worked on, that's what I'm gonna work on. I'm gonna deploy it in this game,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna go through the same process again. I'm gonna watch the film. I did this well. I didn't do this well. Let me work on this one thing, and then the next time we play, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm
Yep.
gonna work on that thing. So I think it's a process of just continually self improvement, self awareness, and being willing to fail fast and fail hard so you can make better decisions as you get better and more exposures.
Absolutely.
100%. So, talk to me. This is gonna be. I'm starting to wrap up here. We're looking at just basketball changing, content is spacing, how people learn, people are getting information is changing. What do you feel like is the most underrated skill in basketball that no one talks enough about on socials and day-to-day conversations in the hoop world?
Mm. That's a good question. I feel like it matters in what context you're talking about, because I would say a lot of the basketball education content is obviously geared towards the youth, right?
Yep.
So are we talking in that scope?
Let's talk in that in the space.
I think it's clearly not shooting because there's a lot of that already present. Oh, that's a good one. I want to say the low hanging fruit is IQ based stuff. I feel like I'm seeing it a little more, but that is probably the biggest miss, I would say. I think but it kind of makes sense. It's hard to convey that kind of information through content. No, for no other reason other than the fact that like why me and Gia aren't bigger content creators. It's like the hoop culture space rewards not necessarily things that are the best basketball, right? In terms of virality and engagement. If you're gonna nerd out about actions and tips and tricks that are just very more cerebral in nature, it's gonna flop. So there's no real incentive for creators to do it. The ones that could have a big enough platform to do it either don't possess that knowledge or it's just not their wheelhouse. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe there's just not an appetite for it either. Because we saw, I think LeBron and JJ, like they were slowly starting to do that. I don't know where they started, but I think it's like it works initially maybe as a little gimmick, but then like people want the tween, hang, snatch, step back, ankle breaker, 360, no scope, three ball in your face. That's what they want. They don't want to hear about, oh my God, look at how this play developed because of this guy's off ball movement and all that kind of stuff. The stuff that we nerd out about, like.
yeah.
But that's probably the biggest thing that's missing, in the youth. I think it's good that I'm seeing a lot more content that is preaching certain good basketball principles, I would say. but you can clearly tell it's like the youth. If you see any like middle school, high school hooper that isn't like nationally ranked, it's just like the levels are, it's all over the place. And a lot of it is like you could be, we play sometimes all the time. Like, there's a kid who's 14, he's like 6'4", like can handle, can shoot or whatever, and is just, we're running circles around them, right? Me, Gia, and you or whatever. We're just running circles. We're not even moving, right? We're not even like putting the ball on the floor, but we could run circles because it's like they have no idea how to rotate on defense, right? They don't know assignments. They just, and they don't, as soon as they get the ball, it's ISO work. And the thing is, you know us, we love our fair share of the ISO game, but it's about the balance. We can do both. That's what
Yep.
makes it fun.
Yep.
So I'll probably say like the IQ part of it, probably the
Yeah.
biggest miss.
I think to add on to that, I would also add, I think on the youth side of it, of just understanding how to play different roles. The
Yeah,
guy, where you're the guy or the girl, and you get most of the shots, you're allowed to do whatever you want, but also where sometimes you might not get a lot of shots and you got to be able
yeah,
to play defense and
yeah,
lock up and help your teammates or stop the other person from scoring. Or maybe you're not on the court and you just got to learn how to be a good teammate. And
yeah,
I think if you're able to be exposed to a lot of different roles and you're not surprised when you get put in a situation where maybe it does require you to have to be the guy and you don't feel bad about taking the shots because you've already experienced this, but you know what
mm-hmm.
it's like to also lift your teammates up and make an extra pass to make sure that they get going and building the team morale. So I think that's something that I see from like just the youth space. I wish more coaches put an emphasis on just putting kids in different positions. It's hard to get to NBA, WNBA. Hard to be that guy
Yeah,
at
yeah,
all college pro levels. And if you can play a role, you could be Tobias Harris,
yeah,
make 330 million by just knowing how to be a good
yep.
team and be solid basketball players. That's what I would add. One more question on this. What's your thoughts on AAU culture? Good or bad for the youth?
Oh, like how the current state of AAU?
Current state AAU.
I think it's just become so commoditized that it's a scam. So I think it's overall bad, but it's almost like I don't even know what the alternative is. Because I think it's bad simply because of just this one story. I was talking to this kid who was telling me he was like 14. I think I just got done like spanking him in the ones. And I was just talking to him. We were chopping it up. I was like, "You're gonna go try out for your team next year?" And he's like, "Nah, because the coach only takes kids who play on his AAU team. Like, you will only get recognized in tryouts if you play on the coach's non-affiliated with the school AAU team in the summer. That costs 5 to 10 bands. So it's like that's the nature of a like when I was growing up, AAU basketball was like, oh, you were like the best in the county or the state, you got to play AAU. And that's I knew that as someone who did not even play basketball. I just knew, oh, those are the jocks over there. They're gonna do something with their lives with sports. I wonder where they're at now though. But like now it's just like a pay to play kind of thing. And clearly it's not really conspiracy, but you could make the argument that all that play, all that wear and tear on the bodies at such a young age, constantly, you're playing year round now, not just like a basketball season, could be why everyone's getting hurt, et cetera, et cetera. So like for the youth, for the development, and also just for the sport too, because it's just highlight. It's the epitome of highlight culture, right? I'm sure there are like, because the thing is, we're always going to have the Peach Jams. We're going to have the EYBL circuits. We're gonna have the big brand circuits. And those are where you get your McDonald's All-Americans and all that kind of stuff. So it'll always exist. I just think now but that used to be like the best of the best nationally ranked. They're always going to have that. Those guys don't pay. They get paid to get on the circuits. But now the AAU is just so widespread. I guess it's good. I guess it makes it more accessible, but at the same time, not really because it prices people out. I guess if I'm playing devil's advocate, you can say that it grew the game for sure, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably overall net negative. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just want thoughts because I echo sentiments of I feel like you got to be at a certain bracket to be able to play summer
Yep.
in like AAU now. Gear is getting more. Basketballs are $100 now. Everything is going up, and I don't think it leads to good development. I don't think playing 2, 3 zones because you got 3 games in a day, 4 games in a day is going to help overall basketball development.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. I forgot about that because I'm not even really hip to the space. I forgot it's an all day tournament and you're like all weekend tournament and you're just playing an insane amount of games
Yeah.
a day. Yeah, that makes zero sense to me.
Yeah, I'm just
It's
like,
also that there's zero. What are the stakes? There's no stakes also. So it's
yeah,
like
you're just
you're not. What are you playing for?
trying to
And
get
that's
your name
where
out there.
that's way too much. Yeah, it's way too much wear and tear on the body. You're not actually hustling and giving it your all.
Yeah.
Yeah, playing zone, that's insane. Okay, no.
That's my thing. It's like, we got 3 games, 3 games in a day over 6 games, maybe 10 games over a 2 day period. Food is trash, recovery is trash. Don't have the opportunity to really set these kids up to get better. I just feel like you're
Yeah.
just playing games just to play, and that load adds up over time. But I feel like that's something we can talk about for a long time. This
Mm.
last little bit, I want first answer that comes to mind, and then we're just gonna rapid fire these last couple.
I have a little bit more time if you want to do. I think I have a little bit more time.
Yeah,
If
you
you
let me.
want to more, if you want to go deeper
You
before wrapping up.
yeah, you let me know. You let me
Yeah,
know.
I have more time. I have more
Okay.
time.
All
So
right.
if you
Cool.
want to ask other questions and stuff, yeah,
All right.
go.
Then talk to me about how you feel like how you feel like you have what's something you learned early that you thought like this is the way I have to do it? What have you changed your mind on in on like basketball training, basketball development over the years as you played more and met more people?
Dude, I honestly think I change my mind like every day, low key. So I'm trying. Okay, I'm gonna try and think of something that I'm like that. I'm gonna first actually try to change, see if there's something that I am like I have never changed my mind on. I No, I don't think there is. I think I've changed my mind on almost everything, and I think that I maybe you could argue that's a reason for the success I've had with my own like journey, like trying to teach myself because I've never held myself, put myself in a box in terms of this is the way and this is law, and I'm just like always challenging myself. I think that's actually a big problem in just all learning, but like especially basketball, because you'll just, oh, so and 5-time all-star so and so, or like this Hall of Famer coach said this, so it must be true kind of thing. That makes absolutely zero sense to me. Just trusting the incumbent based on that is just mind-boggling to me. It's because especially when it comes to things that are like physically doable, because then you could literally go outside and do it and see if it works. And like you can, and I run my own experiments. So even to this day, I believe that I have successfully taught myself how to be a shooter. But I'm always doing these like 3 month short little like experiments where I tweak one thing to see whether it improves or takes away from my like shooting performance. And I still haven't finalized everything. Obviously, I'm like I have a core set of like principles that I'm like these work. But like the little bitty I'm always still optimizing, right? And that's all. I think that's been the same with every skill, because something like obviously if no one has played with me the first time, I will hit them with the biggest AI ever. 99% of the time, they're shifted out the frame. Sometimes someone has seen that before, I'll get plucked. It's a really high risk, high reward move. But you do that same move on like I mean, you know firsthand, right? Work the first couple of times, it's not going to work every single time, right? But as someone like to me, other people might be okay. Let me do another move, which is obviously I'm going to do, right? But I'm also always thinking, how do I do this same move in a slightly different way against a defender who already knows it's coming? Like I'm always doing that. So it's like I think I've always changed my mind, because like I in the beginning, a couple of years ago, I was like, oh, this is how you do this type of crossover or this type of move. But then I'm just like, oh, I have 10 different ways to do it on 10 different body types or 10 different people, like people, and it's just like that's kind of how I always go about it these days.
I think it's reflected on some of your more recent posts of like you'll do one move and you're like 15 different counters to
Oh
a
yeah.
tween
Yeah.
heavy, and I'm just like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's like,
Yeah. You just gotta. It's just like you gotta just you change one minor thing, and you'd be surprised how much it impacts it. Yeah.
what would you say in terms of someone, because shooting is such a big skill, it's such an important skill, and if you can put the ball in the basket at all three levels, you can be really successful. What would you say are your principles like, I'm sticking with these no matter what, these are never going to change?
I think pretty much now, obviously, because I think the shooting knowledge, it's not unconventional anymore. I think in the past, maybe in the past 5 to 10 years, everyone who was saying the things that I've been saying, obviously you got, what's his name? Is it Mike Dunn,
Like,
the shooting guy, right? You got guys who are out there who've built incredible followings, like teaching what someone from 30 years ago would be like, no, right? I think that the old shooting principles have been challenged enough so that people are no longer, what are you talking about when you try to position new information when it comes to shooting? So I do think the whole beef thing, obviously, or whatever acronyms or whatever that old stuff is, just, I never even learned it myself, so I wasn't biased with that. Like when I had a fresh, clean slate when I taught myself how to hoop. Obviously, Steph has gone on record or taught myself how to shoot. Sorry. Obviously, Steph has gone on record and be like, he said, "Oh, I wouldn't teach people how to shoot like myself. I would do it with clay." Form is subjective, right? Everyone's gonna have a different perspective there. I personally, though, think that Steph's shot was like the most aesthetically pleasing. I, but I'm not 6'3", I'm not 6'2", so I'm never gonna look exactly like him. And over the course of time, I'm like, mine actually, I think actually my shot probably looks more similar to Jordan Poole, which is weird because he's taller than Steph, but form wise, because I think Jordan Poole has a little bit lower of a set point or release point than Steph does. Not as low as Trey's, but maybe a mixture of Trey and Jordan Poole. But the thing is, if you look at, I studied a bunch of different shooters who I thought were not only good shooters, but were aesthetically pleasing or similar to mine. And so I would say the non-negotiable for shooting is obviously energy transfer through your mechanics. If you look at any shooter, you take out their hands, you take away their upper body, and you just look at how take away their upper body, but you can look at the ball. If there was a way you could do that, and you look at how the ball moves in relation to their lower body, or I guess their lower body connected to their trunk throughout the entire shot sequence, I would say almost every good 3-point shooter looks exactly the same. So mechanics and understanding ideal energy transfer, and I'm teaching a couple kids now, like I'm training a couple kids now, like on the side. And the one thing that I always that I believe in is like shooting has to be like, it is like, we know it is a feel thing, right? So it's one thing to understand what good mechanics are and what good, like why, if you move this way, it will make a shot feel effortless. And you need to try to optimize what's great for your body, what works best for your body and your proportions, because things change if you got short arms, if you got long arms, long legs, short legs. But then the biggest thing is you can't, it's very hard to teach, but you have to be like, you have to try and instill like that feeling of like feel, right? Which is very difficult, but it's like, to me, it was never that. I think I just had good, I don't know if it's, I'm curious to see what your thoughts would be, is like if it's somebody who has just like good mind muscle connection or proprioception, but like I never had a problem. Maybe it was because of being a percussionist or whatever. Like the concept of feel was always something that was not foreign to me. But like I can definitely see with some kids I'm feeling. I'm like, did that shot feel like, to me? I automatically tell when I'm just looking, like, ideal energy transfer. That shot felt effortless. But they're like, I can't feel a difference. I don't know. And I'm like, shit, that's not good, because you have to know. You have to know what, like, you have to know that feels good or what feels bad per se. But yeah, I think mechanics for shooting. What else? I would say I'm less partial to the form, like in terms of release point, set point, because I think that you should have you in order to be a good shooter, you need to be able to release it at multiple different heights.
Yeah.
I'm not somebody who's like a big guide hand person. I don't believe that because there's clear evidence. Kyrie's a thumb flicker. That's 50, 40, 90 club right there. So it works. I am a huge, okay, for me personally. So, okay, so the only thing I've said is mechanics, right? Mechanics and transfer. That's a
Yep.
non-negotiable.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's is just subjective. I think if you have a Lonzo ball path, you can have a shot that looks ugly, but it doesn't really matter if the ball goes in, right? Because what's ugly, what's pretty, that's subjective. The outcome of the ball going is that's the only thing that matters, and if it can repeat it in a consistent manner. The only thing I would live and die by, though, but it is subjective. It's not objective. Is because I this is something that I am actually currently optimizing for. I wouldn't even say I have it down pat yet. Ray Allen shot like this, and I don't know. I feel like Kobe also shot like this sometimes, but it's like you have like an open palm when you shoot. I'm very much a proponent of a violent downward wrist flick, right? Your shot is a perfect example of that, right? You can almost see if you slow down your shot, your wrist flick is so violent that in slow mo, your fingers would hit your own wrist, right? And I realized that I have a lot of shots that go in where sometimes it's more Ray Allen open. And obviously there are sometimes, especially in the mid-range, when you're going to turn around fade or whatever, and you're like way too close, and you know that if you flick your wrist, it's going to be way too long, right? So it's a push shot, half floater, half something. Obviously, I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about on just like your set shots and things of that nature. I'm a firm believer in the shot should be able to get there on pure, just good energy transfer and wrist, like all wrist. And I found there's basically all of my perfect shots are like if I have good mechanics with that is timed well with my release, but with an emphasis on a downward wrist flick. I've had shots that go in like this, but they never feel as good. And they always require a little bit more energy, I would say. Yeah, but obviously that's still subjective because you can be an exceptionally good shooter regardless of what your shooting hand looks like after the release. But I've just found that to be a very common trait amongst a lot of great shooters. Those great shooters also happen to have forms that I personally find aesthetically pleasing, though. So
Yeah.
who knows?
No, for real, I like it. I like it. I like it. Now, now we'll start getting into the last couple. As you think back to your journey of who's been in your life for a long time. You use it at first to lose the weight, and then now you're just trying to get better and perfect your craft. What are you most proud of as you've gone through your journey and what you've been able to accomplish so far?
Ooh. Obviously, I'm very proud of essentially changing my whole, changing myself, I guess I would say. Obviously, the physical fitness transformation was one thing, but I think it's a little bit different having executed that weight loss journey through basketball as opposed to more conventional means of just strict dieting, personal training in the weight room, or I don't know, doing a run club or something like that. Because yes, you could argue that if I told someone right now who was suffering like low self-esteem, was depressed like I was, years of bullying for being fat, etc., and I say, "Oh, if you lose weight, like it'll fix a lot of your problems." Obviously, that's not a great body positivity thing. Like, I guess not necessarily. You should learn, you know, learn to love yourself in your own body. But if you're the type of person who does not like the way that they look and it's you want to get shredded or you want to lose weight, when you get there, it might not be all that. Obviously, in today's society, like I don't think it would hurt. You can gain a lot of confidence from it. But I would say it was by virtue of doing it through basketball and all of the social benefits that you gain from doing it through a sport like basketball, which is not just an individual sport. Probably the only sport out there that you can play post high school, post college recreationally, because it's so accessible that you get to do it with other people and meet other people. That's really where obviously it helped with the physical transformation, but the mental transformation really came through all of the ancillary benefits from just the sport and culture and community around just strictly recreational basketball, right? Probably like 99% of people in my phone right now are people that I've met through basketball, right? From all different walks of life, all different types of jobs. And it's like, I honestly question, like, if I didn't try to get good at basketball as an adult, who would my friends be? I have zero idea.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd be one of those guys who's like, who are your friends? It's like, my coworkers. That's crazy. That would be crazy to me. But I guess that's also a reality of a lot of people out there, right? Like, how, as a grown man, if you move to a different city after graduating college, you leave all your college friends behind, you're 22, 23, what are you doing to make new friends outside of the 9 to 5 that you're doing? I have zero idea, right? So I would probably say my whole just mental and physical transformation is something that I am proud of. Obviously, the feat of just getting to the skill level of basketball that I am now, having given my late start, I can't lie and be like, I'm not proud of that. I think probably just the biggest thing overall from just a content creation standpoint is I had no idea that so many people would actually resonate with the message. I still obviously wish that it was more, and I want to keep it growing and pushing that message out there, because I just believe that there are so many more of us dabblers out there who think like us, and it could become something. I don't know what that something is, but we talked about it before, but it's like the kind of like societal revolution that is undergoing with the whole run clubs and all these other physical fitness based communities. It's like basketball has been the incumbent. It should have been the first to have this wave of inclusion and positivity and just like the social community culture benefits, right? But yeah, when we first started posting, we do a little bit of everything, but like, who would have thunk me and Gia would be out here and having people resonate with what we do, or looking up to us, or using us for inspiration, or learning something from us. It's surreal for sure. Yeah.
What's the message you're trying to send with the Dabbly Ducks platform?
Oh, that's a good one. I have to definitely refine like the value prop of Dabbly Ducks, because I feel like in classic dabbler fashion, I'm trying to do a little bit too much of everything. So I don't know, maybe you can help me, but I'll spitball. Obviously, one is to just push positivity, inclusivity, diversity into a space that is predominantly just full of more negative type of content, or content that I think most people would agree is not reflective of real grassroots hoop culture, right? Like, maybe in some parts, but it's not like you go to every park or every gym and someone's just swinging or being like, you're not like that, and blah, 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 right? Like, there's plenty of just respectful, great vibes out there, right? That's just not the stuff that's plastered online. So that's what we try to do. Obviously, me and Gia are not your like typical people that you think are hoopers or into the basketball, right? And that's something that, being a little unassuming and putting on for all the dabblers out there, is something that I hope is reflective in our content, because other people in our shoes, we could easily have gone down the route of, hey, Gia, let's go to every single park and pick on every single scrub out there and just use them for content to break them off, right? Because let's be honest, like, we've been told that a lot. Like, people are like, yo, why don't you go take Gia to some random scrub park and just cook dudes or hustle people for money or something? And it's just like, what, dude? Like, that could never be us. Like, I don't know. So then obviously just trying to, I think that tied in with the fact of my origin story of teaching myself so late in life, is almost just like this theme of it's never too late to start dabbling, but also always, I'll say hooper from time to time, but it's like the whole thing I said earlier about not tying your whole identity around basketball, around being a hooper. It's like one of the underlying themes of Dabbly Ducks and just what I'm trying to say is I look at all the people in my life, look at myself, look at Gia, look at all the people that we surround ourselves with, and just all the people that consume basketball content. 99% of us, we're not professional basketball players, but it's like that does not dictate how much passion or love you can have for this game. And it's like we're just trying to put on for that and be like, don't ever stop dabbling. If you haven't started, start right now. It's not too late because you won't really. We want everyone to experience kind of like the same experience that we've had, which is like a truly transformative experience through basketball in all aspects of our life, physical, mental, social, emotional. It's just, I think basketball is such a wonderful thing. Not only is it just face value an exciting sport and an amazing sport, but it's like there's so many benefits to it. So lucky, like other sports, you can't say this. You can't go. I feel bad for the guys who like love baseball. You can't do that after high school or college, right? There's no imagine being like so into baseball. It's like it must be tough, right? Or even like lacrosse or something like that. But like basketball, we benefit from the fact that it's such a global sport. You could literally go anywhere, go to a hoop, and you could run it, right? And it's just like, why? Don't stop, bro. Don't let some kid or some toxic dude be like, why are you still doing this? You're not going to the league, bro. Blah, 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 right? It's just like there's too much good stuff around this game, around this sport, for us to be like constantly living in this like the same kind of like backwards culture that has been around the hoop space ever since we've been born. And yeah,
No, I think you hit that. I think you hit that perfectly. I think we'll continue to refine it. Y'all will continue to refine it, but I think
I think that's yeah. I gotta shorten it down. I gotta get the elevator pitch down. There's too much, but if there's a way that I could succinctly put it into like a couple sentences, I
it,
haven't carved out enough time to. But it's also because it's just evolved. It's evolved since the beginning. I think it would be more compelling because I want to get it to a place where I feel like the content that we're doing right now actually isn't as evocative of what I just said. It used to be in the beginning, but then I had to play the whole game of shit. No one's going to pay attention to what I say if I don't have the eyeballs. And right now we're still fighting for eyeballs,
mhm.
right? You got guys out here doing skits, literally breaking people's ankles, dunking on people. That's the competition, right? We have now that the 1v1 space is fully the next chapter, all that kind of stuff. That's getting all the eyeballs. You got pros, you got $100,000 on the line. Who's gonna watch me being like, look at my buddy, Mr. Plumber Doctor here, put up like 40 points. It is objectively impressive, but it's we're fighting for the same audience, right? So I definitely, if I'm being honest, radically honest, it's like I feel like I haven't been as good about putting out content that speaks to that underlying message. But hopefully we can get back to it. Hopefully we can still do that because that is the ultimate goal. It's just like even with the merch that we're doing with the clothing brand, I'm sure I've told you this, but the whole mission is no different than like when you meet a stranger wearing your favorite player's jersey. Or maybe you're a fan of the Nuggets. You were in a different state, different country almost, and you saw a Nuggets jersey, you're more inclined to be like, what's good? And form a relation. We're human beings. And it's like, we want to do that though with the basketball space, right? We want to evoke, kind of capture that social bond and put it into clothing and apparel to be like, if you see someone rocking Dabbly Ducks, whether you're at a new gym, at a park or whatever, you know that's your guy. That's your guy right off the bat because if you rock with us, that's like you rock with the message. And,
Mhm.
whether they're buns or whether they're nice, it won't matter. You know that you have a friend. And so that's obviously one way we're trying to spread it as well. But yeah, definitely would love to. The dream would be to be able to travel the world and meet people like yourself, like we did, like, and just tell their life story and run the ones or hop in a game with them and just show kind of like a mix of a man on the street interview, but also with basketball highlights. Because I think it's just, yeah, a 14-year-old prodigy who's destined for the league. That's great. But I've always just been more fascinated with former collegiate player who now has his doctorates in physical therapy, who is still getting after it, is a straight bucket, right? Or same thing, or plays in the same run as you remember AJ, 40-year-old
Yep.
Software developer who's just got a strap. There's so many people out there who are just incredibly talented and also happen to be amazing human beings. And I'm just like, if you like hoops, like how can you not appreciate that?
Yeah.
I just feel like it's something that you just gotta love. Yeah. So that would definitely be the dream if we could do that.
I think as you guys continue to keep doing what you're doing, you'll find opportunities come your way that you probably don't even dream about, didn't even think
Yeah.
it's possible. But I think y'all just gotta keep on doing what you're doing because you're making a big difference in the hoop scene. Of
Appreciate you, bro.
course. All right. To wrap this up, I got a couple questions we're gonna rapid fire. First thing that comes to your mind. Cool?
Cool. I will try my best.
All
Let's
right.
go.
Your men's GOAT.
Men's GOAT?
Yeah.
Like men's basketball GOAT?
Men's basketball GOAT.
I can only choose one.
Only one.
Okay, but okay, I do have a question though. Sorry, I ruined the concept. I have a question. Is it my GOAT as in who I think is the actual greatest player of all time, or are we saying, oh, when we're talking about a casual, oh my, that's my GOAT, like
No.
the person who influenced me the
The
most?
person you think is the greatest of all time.
Oh, Jordan.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna fight. I'm not gonna die on that hill. But I had to say something. I'll say it. I'll say it.
Okay. Okay. We're not questioning
I hate that question.
it.
I'm nowhere. I hate that one.
You probably gonna hate this one too. Your woman's GOAT.
Oh, oh, oh. That's easy. That's actually easy for me. I think.
I am okay. I am okay. I like it. I like that.
Or am I mistaken? Hold up. I'm not tripping, right? She's the one who cut her career short, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. That tape does not lie. That tape does not fucking lie. Oh my god. I think I was like, it was just a couple months ago. I think it was just like randomly one of her compilations like came up on the feed. No, that anyone you gotta watch that tape, bro. That is ahead of her time. No, she's incredible, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you.
I stand by that. That was actually easy for me.
I like that. I like it.
That's just strictly off no accolade. That's just off tape. That's just
straight
off
back.
film.
Straight back. I like it. I like it. Who's the person you watch the most film of as a basketball player?
Ooh. I got a couple. I can only choose one.
Give me your top three.
If we're saying NBA, then it's definitely Steph, Kyrie, AI.
Okay. Who's the one who your biggest basketball inspiration?
Probably Kyrie Irving.
Okay. Your biggest basketball pet peeve.
Biggest pet peeve. Dude, I have too many. My biggest pet peeve? Oh, that's hard. I'm probably gonna say something, but then it's gonna just change. But biggest pet peeve? Probably just if someone is like really nice with it, but is a dick.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, understandable.
Like
That,
like that sucks, right? Like
yeah,
they're just like they're really talented, but they're just an asshole. That sucks.
yeah, makes it not fun to play. Not fun to play. Best basketball city in America.
Obviously, I gotta say the DMV. I can't, but that's not a city really. But that's where I'm from, so yeah.
Yeah, it works. A lot of people come out of the DMV.
Yeah.
A lot of people go. If you could run the ones against any basketball player in the world, who would it be? Kyrie. Okay.
Yeah, 100%. I'm good
That,
for
I love it. All right, last one. What's next for W Ducks in the next 12 months?
you. Ooh, big prioritization of spinning up our clothing brand. That's a big goal for 2026, 2027. I would say probably that.
I love it. All right, and we'll be on the lookout for it when it's dropping. And there's
Mm-hmm.
already stuff live right now, correct?
Correct.
All right, so I'll drop in the show notes how y'all can go to the WX store and go support the mission, and let's get ducks all over the world.
Yes, sir.
But I appreciate this convo, Austin. It's been great, and I appreciate you taking the time. I think your story is one that people can take a lot from and apply it to not only basketball, but just life in general. So I hope everyone that listens just took a lot from it and is able to, one, just think about recording yourself and thinking about how you can, what to get yourself better and take the ego out of it. But if people want to find you, people want to stay tuned in with you, how can they find you?
At Dabbly Ducks on every platform.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And I'll link those in the show notes. But Austin, again, I appreciate you coming on, and I really appreciative of your friendship, and I am looking forward to when we get to hoop again, and I'm excited for what you and G are about to do in this basketball world.
Yeah, I miss you, man. You gotta come through.
I'm coming.
Are you gonna come visit soon?
Trust, I'm coming soon. I'm coming
Okay,
soon.
okay, good, good,
I'm
good.
coming soon.
Because yeah, the Dabbly runs have gotten. I think we have a solid showing now, a solid group now. So you'd like it.
Okay.
And also your boy. I feel like my game has taken some strides since you left. I
Okay.
feel.
I hope so, because
yeah,
I'm continuing to as well.
let's go. Yes. For the record, this man is unguardable. Okay, unguardable.
Look, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But we'll catch y'all in the next episode of the pod. Peace.